Mr. McGibbon, you ready, sir?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna start. Call to order the regular meeting of the City Council here at the City of Aransas Pass, 600 West Cleveland Boulevard, February 20th, 2017 at 7 p.m. All rise for the invocation, please. Lord, we'd like to give you thanks for the blessings bestowed upon Aransas Pass. We ask you to bless the people that have passed on recently in the last couple of weeks. We ask you to bless their families as they go through sorrow, as to try to overcome the lost ones that were loved. We ask you to bless our children as they grow up here. We ask you to bless our visitors that come through our doors here. We ask you to help one another understand what's going on as we go through life. Lord, we try to do things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just to let everybody know, we're going to move up item 3.3, the presentation of San Patricio Economic Development Corporation. The floor is now open for them. You want to do the fire department first?
Mayor and Council, I wanted to take this opportunity to recognize two fire captains that go above and beyond the expectations of the job. Captain Cruz and Captain Deal are the first to roll up their sleeves when given an assignment. And more importantly, they're the last two to ever make an excuse or rest on their laurels. It's nearly impossible to walk through that fire department and not see the influence that they've had on progressing us forward. Henry Ford once said, some men succeed because they were destined to. Most men succeed out of determination. Tonight we thank Captain Cruz and Captain Deal for their devotion, their dedication to always succeed. And with that, we have a couple of plaques for them. Thank you. Thank you.
The next will be the presentation of the San Patricio Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Foster Edwards. I'm the Executive Director of the San Patricio County Economic Development Corporation, and we appreciate the opportunity to appear before you. I was just sitting here, and I said to the folks sitting next to me, what a nice council chamber you have. And I can say that because I'm one of the few people in this room that have probably I've made presentations at all 9 cities in this county. You have a great council chamber. And I wanted to just kind of comment on that. We didn't mean to give you your packet in a brown paper, in a brown manila envelope. I know it looks mysterious. I was just realizing we should have put our logo on there so you could see it. But we pass that out to you, and we I hope you'll follow along with me a little bit in that envelope, in that package. What I wanted to do is, you're one of our funding agencies, and we appreciate your support. We appreciate the work that you've done for us and with us, and I feel like that our funding agencies deserve at least an annual report from us as to what our activities have been and what we're thinking about for the future, that sort of thing. On our board, we have 2 people from Aransas Pass, Sylvia Carrillo and Rosemary Vega. Rosemary representing the chamber and Sylvia representing the city, and we appreciate the work that they've done. What I wanted to do tonight is talk about the 4 things that I have listed here, the 4 bullet points, and I'm going to go kind of fast. I don't want to tell you more than you want to know, and I also don't want to leave anything out. So I'm going to try to kind of go fast. And please, if you need to interrupt me or want to interrupt me or stop me or whatever, that'd be great. I wanted to be on your agenda so you could ask me a question if you wanted to. We do 4 things. One of them is recruitment. We concentrate on 4 things. One of them is recruitment, and I wanted to spend a little time talking about that because it is the thing that is the least understood that we do probably, and the reason it's the least understood is because so much of it is confidential. I sign a confidentiality agreement with each company that indicates an interest. Our staff signs a confidentiality agreement with each, with the organization. So we have all pledged to keep things confidential. We work with prospects, and let me just sort of give you a little glimpse as to how this works. We will get an email or a phone call or some communication from the Governor's Office of Economic Development, from a site selector, or from a company saying we're interested in opening up a manufacturing facility or whatever it is, and here is our parameters. And generally they're very specific. We need this many acres, we need this much water, we need this much electricity, we need rail, we need, and I'm just listing off because they don't all need rail, but we need rail, we need a 4-lane highway, we need a building of this size. We have 3 requests pending right now for companies that are, their first choice is a 20,000 square foot building. Well, there's not very many 20,000 square foot vacant buildings in San Patricio County. Their second choice is to build a building on so many acres with so much parking and whatnot. So we talk to them about that sort of thing. But they list off all these criteria, and sometimes they say deep water port. So when you go through the process, this many acres, these amenities, this much water, this much electricity, you may or may not have what they need. For example, we got one from the Governor's Office just a few weeks ago. They're looking. They do not want to build a building. They want a 150,000 square foot vacant building. There's not a 150,000 square foot vacant building in all of South Texas, much less San Patricio County. So we didn't even respond to that one. What's the point? They were very clear, we're not going to build a building. We want something we can move into now. But in the end, maybe they will find a 150,000 square foot vacant building in Dallas or Houston or somewhere. And for all we know, they've sent out this request nationwide. I mean, they might be willing to go to Phoenix or Kansas City or wherever, because they were a large company with a huge reputation. We don't always even know the name of the company. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get them as a code. We typically have a very, very short time frame. They'll say, we want this information back to us in 10 days even, or 2 weeks, which means you don't have time to go out and find the building. And you don't have time to go out and find the land. So what we're doing right now, and we've been doing this for a while, we're assembling a land bank. We want to know where all the acreage is that is for sale, and we want to know how much people want for it. We want to know, we know about water, we want to know sewer, how can we get sewer to this piece of property? And all those kind of things that you need to know. We want to know that up front so that we can respond to these requests very quickly. I got a request just not too long ago for a 400-acre piece of land on a highway. And I knew of a piece of land, and I went to the landowner and I said, how do you feel about it? And they said, it's not for sale. It's not for, well, I've changed my mind, I don't want to sell. Well, I mean, you can't make somebody sell, and this is literally a free country, and we can't make somebody sell their property. He'd indicated to me that he was willing to sell, and he changed his mind for whatever reason. So those are the kind of things we do. I will tell you that right now, we are working on 12 prospects, 9 of which are manufacturing. 1 is hospitality, and I will tell you the hospitality one is a hotel, where the hotel company called and said, we want to build a hotel in a certain town in your county. Can you help us? Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's not Aransas Pass, or I would have been knocking on your doors. But so it was. You don't usually get that, but they'd already done their market research, and what they wanted to know is, could we help them get any tax abatements and that kind of thing. And we're working with 2 retail operations, ranging, and these range from. We have 2 sites, one of which you know about. We have 2 companies we're working with that are on what we call mega sites, 1,000 acres or more. We have, they range from, let's see, 20 employees up to hundreds of employees. They range from billions of dollars to 30 million. And you know, 30 million sounds like a lot of money to me. I wish I had 30 million myself. But when you start talking about billions, then somehow 30 million doesn't sound like much. But we'd all like to have a $30 million company in this town with 20 new employees. We'd all like to have that. And so we don't throw those away. We work with those just as hard as we can. So I want to go to the retention part, and like I said, I'm just going to kind of keep going. Our goal is to, you know, it's in business. It's a pretty axiomatic. It's easier to keep a customer than get a new one, and so we want to keep the business we got. So we meet with business all the time. We talk about training. We talk about traffic. We talk about all kinds of things with business. We talk about utility rates. You have all kinds of conversations. We have a committee we call our industry committee, and that committee meets every couple of months, and we talk about what does industry need and what do they want and how can we keep them happy, basically. We're doing a traffic study. We got a grant to do a traffic study on 361, basically the traffic between Gregory and Ingleside. And you've been on that road at 7 in the morning or 5 in the afternoon, you know that it's a traffic jam. And so we're trying to figure out how can we help that. And we meet with TxDOT, we meet with the Metropolitan Planning Organization, we meet with the Port, and we meet with the City of Corpus Christi. We meet with lots of people to talk about these kind of things. And we talk about housing a lot. We all think we have a housing shortage in this county, and we do. We don't have enough houses being built. I know Aransas Pass has some things going on with new housing, and that's great. But we need housing all over the county, so we work on that all the time too. We do some information things that we do. We do what we call a partners breakfast. We had our last partners breakfast in Aransas Pass just a couple of weeks ago. We provide, every time we have a partners breakfast, we provide an economic overview of, and that's this piece of paper, or this actually several pieces of paper. It's the one we passed out in January at our Aransas Pass partners breakfast. We also have, and you have a flyer in your packet on our economic update coming up. It's on March 29th. We're having the executive vice president of the Federal Home Loan Bank Board, the what's called the Dallas region, which is about 5 states, not the federal one. Well, it is a federal one, but it's the regional federal one. And he's going to talk about the economy, and particularly as it relates to housing. And he's going to talk nation, state, San Patricio County. So, and we want to be an information source for the economy, and that's why we're doing the partners breakfast. That's why we're doing this economic update. And then lastly, we work on making this a business-friendly county, and we try to work with city councils. We look at ordinances. We work with city managers. I try to talk to city managers whenever I can. We meet with Commissioners Court. We look at state and federal legislation. As a matter of fact, last week we had our San Patricio County Day in Austin, and I have in your packet there is a copy of our legislative agenda. We paid particular attention to House Bill 2, which is a bill that will that will cap tax increases for cities at 4% instead of 8% without going to a rollback. We think that inhibits cities, and we came out against that. And we talk about that. I talked to the city managers about that. I talked to the mayors about that. I talked to the judge about that, the county judge. So we have a whole bunch going on. We try to serve however we can. We realize that our job is to take care of our 9 cities and our county. Unfortunately, we have not had a request for a specific property that would fit in Aransas Pass. I will tell you, I had and I can say, I'll tell you what it was because I thought it was the perfect thing for this city. I had a guy who was a boat manufacturer who wanted to be, he was in the Chicago area. He wanted to be in a warm water, saltwater place because of the kind of boats he built. He was going to employ 60 people. I had a spot picked out for him in your city, and he and the property owner couldn't make a deal. And he ended up going to a city in Louisiana. So, and you didn't know about that because I'd signed a confidentiality, and I still haven't told you the name of the company, and I won't. And if they'd have made a deal, you would have known about it, because I would have come to you for some help, I'm sure, with zoning or something. Probably not zoning, probably other things. But the point is, we tried to work that deal, and it was under the radar, under your radar, under Sylvia's radar, and it just never happened. But we do those things all the time, and you do what you can. The last thing I want to say is I don't want to blow any smoke your way. The percentage of deals you get from economic development is single digit. If you work with 100 prospects and you get 3, 4 things happen, you've done great. So even though I'm saying we have 12 prospects, the truth is we may not get any of them. We may get 1 of them. Wow, if we got 2, that'd be fantastic. But you gotta work the deal. You gotta tell your story. You gotta make things available. It's like any sales job. You know, I'm in the sales business. I'm trying to sell this county and this city and other places to an international, a worldwide marketplace. I'll stop. Thank you for your time. Anything else I can tell you?
No, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me come. I appreciate it.
Fernando, please.
The next item we have is Neptune is here to present. We can have him come up, please.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me all right? Do I really need this?
Yes.
For the people listening on the internet.
Stream it online.
Thank you for allowing me to come in tonight, Mayor, Council. Sylvia had reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked you may have some questions regarding Neptune. My name is Rex Baxter. I've been with Neptune 27 years. I live in Houston. I've been covering this market, the Gulf Coast region, throughout those 27 years. Aransas Pass has been a long-time Neptune customer throughout my tenure. Even previous to me being with Neptune, Aransas Pass had purchased and installed Neptune meters. A little bit about, and please, if you have any questions, please interrupt, ask away. A little bit about Neptune. Neptune is a very old meter company. We were founded actually in 1892, located in New York. In 1971, we moved the entire manufacturing process down to a small town outside of Montgomery, Alabama, where we are today. Everything is manufactured there at the facility in Alabama. We're approximately a $350 million company, and typically we manufacture approximately 2 million meters a year. In most of the market we sell to is in North America, some in Mexico, but very little in the international market. The meter that y'all have today, y'all actually started, and that's what, it's an R900, it's an electronic meter. Typically what you'll do is you'll load the route in the laptop, you'll drive around, all the reads get picked up by the laptop, and those reads are brought back here to your utility billing office, and your utility billing people actually download those reads from there. That meter actually was first installed as far back as maybe 2011, 2012, and then most recently you kind of escalated that change out, I believe, at the end of 2016. There's approximately 400,000 meters of this type in the state of Texas alone.
How many do we have from you here?
You probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500. Is that number? I believe there's around 900 that are not. They're the older brand, or the original, what we call direct read. Just a few customers locally that have the same meter as you. Three Rivers, George West, San Patricio Water Authority, or Water District, Robstown, which is actually Nueces County Navigation District, is that right? Odom, Mathis, to the north, El Campo, Wharton. So you are not alone in the meter you have in your system. It's a growing technology, and I have cities as large as 100,000 people.
When you sell the meters to Aransas Pass, be more specific,
Mhm.
do you provide training to our employees, or do they go through a course or a class or something?
I believe most recently, when was the training done, Shelley, here?
The actual training is, we have it set up for the middle of March.
Okay.
HD provides the training at no charge to your employees at any time that they need this.
So it'll be set up in March, it hasn't been done yet?
No, sir, because I had a meeting with Sylvia, was that 3 weeks ago, I think it was, 3 or 4 weeks ago? And they've been working with, Sandra to schedule the training, because we were trying to fit it within JP's time and what was convenient during their reading schedule.
But we've had the meters, using them since 2011.
But you would have been trained prior to that.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
Do we have any
Oh, yes.
Right,
training from-
yes, yes.
We received training in 2011,
11.
and then we came back the next year as well, and then the city requested an updated training.
And who was the one we got in 2011? Sylvia, do you know?
Who's your prior finance director?
Which was
Sandy,
Sandy?
Okay.
Sandy.
right. So when you first started putting them in, Mayor, you had one type of reading device.
Right.
And then you upgraded that reading device, still kept putting in the same meter, and that's what's created the need for additional training. So Shelley and Lauren, if I will, are with HD Supply, and they're my local distributor in Corpus Christi. So all the meters are actually purchased through them, and I add support as far as from the manufacturer's standpoint.
How many people do y'all normally train? Is it 3, 4, 5? All depends on the city, or?
But how are we going to use this to train?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, right now, we just have JP, correct? So it was trained through Sandy, or nobody?
The whole water crew is going to be trained.
The whole, they will be trained? Okay.
Again, the training is just on a reading device, not the meters themselves. That's what the biggest change from 2011 is the number of different devices used for reads.
Okay. What about installation? Is there any certain way you have to install these meters to keep them up, or calibrated, or anything?
No, as far as the installation, it's basically like you're installing the old direct read. It fits in the same same lane length as the other type did. The only thing added on to that is, do they use an external antenna on theirs?
Yes.
Okay. There's an external antenna which allows for the read to transmit further, and if it's actually a small, like almost a coaster that sits on top of the lid.
On top or underneath the lid?
It's underneath the lid, but
But
the only
right there
part
at the
that's
lid.
exposed
Correct.
is it's a small, looks like a small coaster, drink coaster. We show them how to attach that, but the installation it's very straightforward. So that would be additional training on that could be done as well.
Would there be an issue between that actual antenna and the actual housing that ties into the piping? If it's covered with dirt or debris or anything?
No.
Would that interfere? Or
No.
Okay.
You're either going to get a read or you're not. There's no, the way the product's designed, you cannot get a misread.
I got you. How do you tell apart from, if you got 10 houses in line, is there a certain code that goes from each meter to tell you?
That's a
You get to read?
that's a really good question. So every meter has a 10-digit code. It's called an MIU code. MIU stands for Meter Interface Unit. It's stenciled on the meter itself, and then there's also a tag, almost like a sticky note that's on the outside, and that's really used. That's peeled off. So when it's installed, that 10-digit number is put into the software at that address.
Okay.
So when the laptop is loaded with whatever route they're reading that day, those thousand addresses, if you will, all have their particular 10-digit ID assigned to them. So the meters are transmitting the 10-digit IDs. So as you drive by, it listens, gets the ID number, matches it up with its twin, if you will, or same ID in the software, and it's assigned to the address.
And your instruments, is there any time you have to recalibrate or bring them in?
No.
No.
No, meters have evolved, if you will. There is some mechanical pieces to them. The only meters that really need any kind of calibration still to this day are your commercial meters, like your 3-inch, maybe 4-inch meters, maybe like a meter at the high school or one of the hotels you may have in town. But the small residential meters, there's no calibration
Okay.
anymore compared to what it was 25 years ago.
What about the computer that it reads to? Is there any issues between transferring when it's modern back and forth or not?
No, it's either done through a Wi-Fi connection or an Ethernet connection in the vehicle. It's no different than sitting in a coffee shop, tying into the Wi-Fi, and getting on Facebook or whatever. It's
Same thing.
the same process.
Do we know if we have any dead spots for Wi-Fi in Aransas?
Well, the Wi-Fi is really between the laptop and you have a laptop and you have what's called a data collector. It's a box about yay big. That's the connection there. You're not really, as you're driving, you're not communicating to any kind of broadband Wi-Fi. It's just between those two pieces.
All right. Bluetooth. So we're looking at hopefully additional 900, right?
Yes, that's correct.
What is the lifespan of these meters?
Well, every meter we manufacture has to meet a certain standard, and that's what's called AWWA. It's American Water Works Association. Anything that's made that's in your water system, fire hydrants, valves, meters, of course, pipe. It all has to meet a standard set by the AWWA organization. They typically recommend meters to be changed out somewhere between 1 million to 1.5 million gallons. Well, and that can vary depending on where you are. But you know, if a customer is using approximately 100,000 gallons a month, that's 100,000 gallons a year. You know, that's roughly 10 to 12 years. Now, I would say it's very likely the meters that you have removed in the last maybe 6 months had aged much longer than that. Because the way water meters work, they wear with age. They wear based on water quality, and you know, some may last longer than others as far as accuracy is concerned. But anywhere between 1 million to 1.5 million is a good guesstimate.
So we have a discrepancy saying that somebody has a meter, the thing's not reading correctly.
Mhm.
Who do we send it to you or to?
You can get locally with HD, and y'all have done that most recently. You sent 3 back that were manufactured in 2012, so that more than likely they were put in about that time. And they were sent back to our factory in Alabama, and we tested all 3. All the test results came back. They're basically almost like a brand new meter still. We can do that. There's third-party testing companies. I don't think there's any in Corpus. The city of Corpus actually might test the meter if you wanted something tested, but we can do it just as easily, and we're happy to do that.
All right. Council have any questions? I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you for the
Thank you so
information.
much.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us in. Anytime we can follow up, we're happy to do it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paxton.
Mr. McGivern, you're up, sir. 6-1.
Thank you, sir.
Consent agenda?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Item 6.1, public hearing on amending the City of Aransas Pass Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, Section 24-4A, to be titled Approval of Plats, Minor Plat Provision, and to change the designation of approval authority from one or more officers or employees to the city manager or his or her designee. Anyone wish to speak on that?
Good evening. This is a provision that had gone before the planning and zoning. We had went back to some recommendations from Alan Lawrence, our city attorney, and this is something we visited recently, but we took into consideration some of Alan's recommendations, and basically we simplified the language, clarified the location of the ordinance, and changed the language for the designation.
We're going to get your full name.
I'm sorry, my name's Catherine Como, I'm the city planner.
Thank you. Any questions for council? No? Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else wish to speak on item 6.1? Okay, Mayor, we'll close this public hearing.
All right. Bring us into 6.2, consider an act. What's the favor of the council?
Make a motion, we approve item 6.2.
Second the motion?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, item 6.3, public hearing on amending the City of Aransas Pass zoning ordinance, Part 2, Section 400, conditional use permits. Anyone wish to speak on this public hearing?
Again, this is another that has recently been voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We had looked at the conditional use permit section last month, and after reviewing it, we found that there were several large portions of the section that needed revision. The revisions mainly include making that sure that all of the application process is the same throughout each different section, addressing the different types of conditional use permits. The application process was the same, clarifying between conditional use permits for use versus for structure, and as far as the making sure that all of the language was streamlined throughout the section.
Bless you.
Any questions?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else wish to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing.
What's the motion of council on item 6-4?
Make a motion, we approve item 6-4.
Second the motion?
All in favor, say aye.
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 We'll open the public hearing on item 6.5, public hearing on amending the City of Aransas Pass zoning ordinance, Part 3, Section 12, off-street parking requirements, parking schedule 12-200, amending minimum parking requirements for auto laundry.
We had recently had someone come for a certificate of occupancy for a car detail shop. When we were reviewing the minimum parking requirement, off-street parking requirements for an auto laundry, we found that it to be a minimum of 20 spaces, which was the most restrictive in the section. After reviewing other cities' ordinances on the same, we decided that the most reasonable restriction would be 2 spaces and for an additional space per 250 square feet.
Anyone else wish to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing.
What's the for council item 6-6?
Make a motion, we approve item 6-6.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 6.7. We'll open the public hearing on plat extension. Public hearing on a 6-month extension for plat number 1609016-P12 Harbor Heights Phase 1. Anyone wish to speak on this?
Last one, I promise. This is the final plat for Phase 1 of Harbor Heights. The urban engineering had contacted us. They were concerned that they would just get past the deadline for filing the plat. They had had some delays. They just wanted to be sure that they were within our legal requirements.
Did they give a reason for delays or?
It was some matters as far as taking care of the financing, the taxes. They've taken care of that now. It should be, we should be receiving the plat to be recorded in the next few weeks.
Excellent.
Anyone else wish to speak on item 6.7? All right, we'll close the public hearing, Mayor.
What's the further council for 6-8?
I'll make a motion, we approve item 6-8.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fernando, you're up, senor.
All right, this first agenda item we have here, Mayor and Council, it's for the Memorial Commission. They regularly meet on every second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. or as requested by Council. They had a meeting this past Thursday, and they're requesting to meet on a monthly basis.
They give us a day that they want to meet. Is it?
I believe the time and date will stay the same. It won't.
Okay.
Just be official.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept for the Memorial Commission to meet on a monthly basis on the second Tuesday of each month.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 The second item here also is also for the Siemens Memorial Tower. The commission is requesting to go out for RFP to purchase a sign that will state that they're prohibiting any food or drinks inside the memorial tower. The price really is under the amount needed for an RFP, but they wish to go out for request for proposals. If they go out for proposal, it'll be at their expense.
And also a sign to identify as a consecrated ground, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I hear a motion for approval.
Yeah, make a motion, we approve the issuance of an RFP for signage at the Siemens Memorial Tower.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Right, this next item we have on the agenda is for the sidewalk project with TxDOT, the Safe Route to Schools. TxDOT is proposing doing a realignment because of issues with the current one. Let me bring up the map. If you can see on the map, right now on 13th Street, they would turn on Nelson. That would impact 17 homes along that subdivision where the sidewalk will cut into their parking on their driveways and might affect cars parking on the street because the larger vehicles would be sticking out on the sidewalk. They propose going down the alley of Wilson Avenue because that one currently is a 40-foot right-of-way. It's clear, it's not an actual street. So that is the proposal right now from TxDOT. We did ask why they wouldn't go on the opposite side of Nelson. There is no right-of-way there for the city. We would have to acquire the right-of-way, and that would cost more money than what the project would be worth, so.
That's an alleyway, you know, Wilson is basically the alley behind Whispering Palms.
Yes, that's correct.
On the north side.
What is the,
And will it be just for pedestrian traffic?
Yes, there'll be a 10-foot sidewalk there. There
Right,
is
but
a,
There gonna be cars driving up and down?
I know there are some property owners that use that to access their
Right.
driveway. There's, being that it's a 40-foot right-of-way, this is a 10-foot,
There'll be plenty of room.
there'll still be room
Oh,
left. There
okay.
is a side swell there for drainage, but they'll still leave about 20 foot left there for people to access their driveways.
is that the one directly where Mr. Coyne has that extra property?
No,
It's the opposite side.
across the way. Makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
Mhm.
It makes more sense to go that way than,
That's on the other side of Yoka.
it's on Yoakum. Or it's the backside of Palm Drive. Todd,
On the north
Coyne is
side. On the side where Petrie used to live.
Oh,
Right behind Petrie's old house.
yeah.
Here's
Closer.
the street view from 13th Street.
Yeah.
That right there?
Oh.
Mhm.
So this will be the-
That's 13th. That's Wilson, the dead ends.
so which side are they gonna put the sidewalk on? Right
That
away?
will still yet to be determined. More than likely be along the swell because most of the properties are on the left side.
Okay, that makes sense. What's that, Billy?
I said, yeah, I was just looking at the old houses there, just trying to figure out whose old house that was.
But there's really not a road
Per se, right.
there
No,
to
there's
go
not.
down at
No.
all. And none of that is public or private property.
No, it's a
all-
city right away.
City
It's
right.
all city right away.
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Sounds good to me.
all right.
What about the rest of the walkway from the library?
It would remain the same.
Are we cutting 10 foot into people's yard too, or not?
Yes, sir, it would.
That's the right of way of the city.
That's the
That's
But we have larger right of ways in that area where it
Okay.
wouldn't affect them as much.
Right, it's not, it actually belongs to the city.
Yes,
It's
it
not
will be put on
people's
city right away.
Private property.
Right.
Correct.
Has anybody got any questions on this?
My name's Alfredo Flores, and I'm a little puzzled, because does this have anything to do with Goodnight? Where the sidewalks are going?
Yes, the section,
Can you see the map up there?
this section here from 13th Street to Saunders will be on Goodnight.
Okay, so, the people that live on, like I live on the corner of 11th and Goodnight, that's gonna take, the sidewalk's gonna be right in front of my house, right?
Yes, it'll be on the city right away though.
Okay, let me ask you this, where my property line's at in the front, is the sidewalk gonna be up to the fence where the property line is, or are you gonna measure from the street going toward my house?
At this point, the alignment hasn't been finalized. We have to get with TxDOT on what side of the street it's gonna go on. And then once that's determined, they gotta meet the requirements to offset off the street.
Okay, because I asked the guy that was surveying out there, he said it's gonna be in front of my house. And then I asked them, well, what do y'all want to do with the water running? Because it seems like the city always picks on me. Verizon, y'all weren't here then, maybe Vicky was. Verizon just went one day and was set up, didn't let nobody know. And then they put a 500-gallon diesel fuel tank, didn't let nobody know till it overflowed in my neighbor's property. Okay? And the thing is that, you know, there seems like you're gonna make what is it again? A bike trail and what?
It'll be a sidewalk for students to get to and from school,
So
and
that's not gonna be a bike trail and.
well, it'll be used for bike riding as well,
And
pedestrian and walking.
you know how many children pass through there?
That's
I mean,
what
I've
they-
been there 30-something years. There ain't no kids that go through there. You know, I'm just asking because, you know, and if you're gonna do that, I was just wondering, because I asked the guy, okay, now, when the water, because of the Verizon again, my house is gonna get flooded. Because I asked him, what are y'all gonna do with the ditch here? What about my pipe running under here? You know? And he said, well.
If there's any swells or pipe crossings there on our right of way, there will be a pipe underneath the sidewalk to continue the flow. It will not
And then
obstruct flow.
The main pipe on the corner of 11th Goodnight.
Yes,
gets
for-
flooded, because that's where I usually got the problem. Okay, what about the trees that the neighbors got and I got on the easement that belongs to the city? Who's gonna pay for that?
If it's on a city right of way, it belongs to the city.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about knocking on.
No, the contractor will handle all that.
Okay, but still you don't know what side it's gonna go, you say, right?
No, not until we get final alignments on it.
Because I know that on the other side you've got a gas line pipe. And I don't know, you can build that concrete sidewalk on a gas line pipe. Just asking out, you know.
Yeah, but once we get the final alignment, we'll bring it back to present it.
Okay, and when, you don't know about when this?
No, I have no timeline right now.
Okay.
I wasn't here, Verizon.
Huh?
I wasn't
I
here when
can't
that happened
remember,
with
but
Verizon.
Yeah, that was a big mess too, you know, because then I found out that domain thing, that I couldn't figure out why they built this in a residential area.
Right.
I remember when I built a little patio in the back, I had to let all the neighbors know that I was gonna build that, but when they built it, it was just there. One day they knocked the trees down, next day it was there. And then they didn't let nobody know about that 500-gallon fuel tank that's still there, until it overflowed because the guy fell asleep filling it up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. So when they get a final plan, or when they figure out where it's gonna go, it's gonna come before council?
Yeah, right now they're just requesting to redo that section of the alignment because of the impact on the residents.
Okay. So any other questions for anybody? No? Okay, what's the fare of the council on that item? Come up.
This is Diane Flores, and I live here in Lorenzo's Pass, of course. I'm just considering that bike and whatever you're putting up on this.
I can like.
Thing, okay, but you know, we never see kids walking through there, riding bikes or anything. They go through Yoakum all the time, and then I don't know if you would want kids in a bike run with that 500 gasoline tank there. I just want to let you know about that, because y'all probably don't know about that. Okay?
I know the reason for this one also is because it's between the schools, and being that it's the safe route to schools for kids, they want to allow a way for kids to get to and from school and to the library in a safe manner instead of going through the TxDOT road where there's more traffic.
Well, let me tell you this, we have a stop sign there, and we sit out there all the time. Every time people pass that stop sign, you don't know how many wrecks we have seen through there, because they run right through it. And I don't think it's a safe place, but, you know, you always have to wait for something to happen for us to realize, you know, what good cause it had for, you know, for it to be there.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
That little section from the Wilson portion, see the original route laid it right in front of the high school. That one's gonna be off by a couple 100 feet. Are you guys gonna connect that from the Wilson
To
alley?
the schools?
To
Yes.
Demery Lane?
Yes, it will be connected to the school.
Okay.
We still don't know which side though, right?
No, I still don't know. I just know that right now they're requesting to do that revision on that section.
All right.
I know that they want to the purpose is to go by both Keyburger and Falk, but I wonder if it could just go, you know, if there is a question with a tank, I don't know what that tank is, but whatever that is,
Across from Mr. Coker's house.
if it would just go straight down Wilson and just give it a straight, you know, but of course,
Well, the new school is gonna be off of Goodnight. When they combine both schools into one, it's going off of Goodnight.
I understand. I understand.
Just have to wait until they give us their drawing, and then we can make adjustments at that
Exactly.
particular time.
Correct.
You know, whether it's the best or not at that
Right.
particular time.
All right, what's the fare of the council on this item?
Make a motion, we approve the closing of Wilson Street from 13th Street to Avenue A for the construction of the hike and bike trail.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain, Mary, because that's the family that raised me here, so I can't vote on this.
All right, the next item we have on the agenda is for Cinco on Pompano Street in Pelican Cove. If you're not aware, there's this old storm drain pipe there that has collapsed and portion of the road is failing. This is to be able to go out and hire a contractor and go out for RFP so that we can get that repaired. We believe most of the work can be done in-house. The work that would have to be contracted out would be the actual capping of the bulkhead and at the other end of the pipe so that we can get in there and close it up and abandon it. Staff recommends approval not to exceed $100,000.
I'm not sure that I understand the quote on this as $100,000, but I do understand that the storm drain, because I went out and looked at it myself, it does come out into the waterway underneath Pompano. You can't see it, because I didn't think that it was there, so it comes out under the waterway. So what we're wanting to do is completely cap off there and then go over 2 lanes, because that's a 2-lane with a median in the middle.
That's correct.
And then do we know how far over to the other side where that open field is?
No, the pipe actually goes all the way through to the canal on the opposite end. But we will just go on the other side of the roadway and cap it there so that we can remove that section underneath the road, because that's the areas that we're more concerned with as people drive over it, and we'll do the repairs on that.
Right, so it's an abandoned storm drain, so we can cap it on both ends,
Correct.
fill it in.
Yes, that's
And
correct. And then the homeowner society there has the original permit with Army Corps of Engineers, and they have gotten the permission to complete the work. And they're here if you have any questions for them as well.
I got a question. Is it, was it part of the original bill, or whoever I'm speaking to?
Council Mayor, I'm Mike Carter, I live at 104 Dolphin Court. I'm on the board of directors for the last 2 years, and I've probably been on this project ever since we seen the large hole going in the median. The way I understand it from records, that pipe has been installed in there for some time. Nobody's ever given us the date the developer used it, because it used to drain Aransas Pass, come through where the canal was, went off to the canal. And at some point, the city allowed the developer to use that pipe, and then in 2005, homeowners association was unable to meet the water quality criteria of the canals, so that's when they had to spend $700,000-800,000 putting a pumping station, and no longer use that pipe. The pipe, I understand from divers who've been out there, is pretty much full of end cap at the canal. There's a structure, a valve structure prior to the canal, then it goes across the lot. I'm going from east to west to the canal. Our main concern is we can see stress areas in that pavement right now. That's old corrugated metal pipe. Nobody knows the date of that pipe. Fernando and crew was out there when it first opened up, did their best to try to patch the top, but since then it's created a sinkhole. They filled it up with sand. There's another sinkhole going. You can see stress marks across the asphalt to the other side. And I think it's just a matter of time before it's gonna go. I was an engineer for 40 years. I just see some problems here. We got big cement trucks coming in from new construction, we got garbage trucks coming in twice a week, and it seems like every single time you see a little bit more there going on. Water ponds in that curb section there anyway, so it's concentrating more and more water against that bulkhead, of which one of the owners of that bulkhead, that owns that bulkhead, is starting to see maybe this pipe is causing degradation of his bulkhead, which I hate to see that happen. I think they got it right. We need to structurally plug up that pipe, canal, abandoned by removal or filling in with some kind of media across the right-of-way only. The rest of the pipe is on our homeowner association's private property up to that structure. At this time, we don't have concerns with it. But we do the right-of-way for entrance into the subdivision, to
Right.
keep the utilities going.
I guess my question is, what you may or may not know is when they developed it, you know, did the developer already know it wasn't gonna be used, and how come they didn't fill it?
I think they thought it was gonna be used because bringing in fresh water from the canal. They want to put a valve out there, control tidal waters and bring water in and back out.
I got you.
That's the only one that was there.
Have y'all ever saw they bid for that, to take that out, or to fill it in?
No, but we were working on it for a while, and then, excuse me, and then I think Sylvia was to receive bids today. You know, I'm pretty sure I gave that 100,000. I think that's, depends on how you do it. And then we open, excavate it, and repair the street. If you're gonna repair the street, it's gonna cost a lot less. We were figuring on filling the pipe, routing or some means, and leaving traffic open. So it'd be cheaper to tear it out half the time, I think, and fill it back in, if we don't ever need it. But we've met with Tigers and we've met with a contractor out there.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. For now, where will we pull that money from?
Possibly it will be coming out of the drainage fund that we have for the city. The main cost will be plugging at the bulkhead. Once that's plugged, the rest of it can possibly be done by the city crews. And really, we're looking at the portions underneath the road where we will excavate the pipe, recompact it, fill it in, and then pave those sections that we cut out. And that'll be the most of the work that'll be done.
Do we know what budget we have for the drainage fund so far?
No, I would have to check on that.
So do you think we have to cover the 100,000 right now or not?
I would have to check.
You have to check.
Yeah.
On this item, given though we have to check to see we have the finances, I think it'd probably be good to table it to the next meeting until we've got accurate numbers. It's just my suggestion to the council.
I just think that it needs to be done, because it's gonna get even larger. So I just think we need to go ahead and we need to find the money, if it's not in the drainage, in some other ways, to kind of maybe streets or something like that. 'Cause part of it's gonna be streets anyway, right?
Yes, that's
Repairs and
correct.
things like that. So we might have a couple of departments that we can pull the funds from in order to
Well,
cover
don't we
the
just
money.
need to go out for bid?
Yeah.
But
need to
yes,
go out
we'll
for
we'll
bid.
go out for a request in order to get contractors to do the
filling?
the part of the
Cap.
bulkhead and the capping. And I believe if we do the work in-house, it'll be a lot cheaper for the rest of the work.
Right.
Longer we wait, the more
So,
expensive it gets.
So the suggestion at this time would be
Is to go for RFPs on
to
the
go out for
capping,
RFP
yes.
for capping.
And then the city will put the in-house work on the remaining part.
And by then we'll have an actual number.
That's correct.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Well, I make a motion that we approve to go out for RFPs for the drainage repairs on Pompano Street.
Second?
All fair say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, the next item on the agenda we have is the renewing of the softball complex contract with Mr. Roland Peña. He is requesting that the contract remain the same with two modifications. He would like to allow discount for rain days and he would like the city to provide field dirt for low areas.
Hi, I'm Hope Pena. I'm representing my husband, Roland Pena.
Hope, do you have an idea how much dirt you'll need?
The city actually put dirt last time. It's just that we just had more rain last night and
Right.
it's flooded.
I saw the pictures.
Yes, it's just flooded again. So he would probably just need a couple of loads, probably on the first field, just to get it back up there again. Because that was the stipulation in the contract for last season, that we had no rain outs, and that was the only problem that we had. So he's willing to, if the city would give him the contract for the 2017 season, he's willing to go, you know, they would give him the contract again. He's willing to go back with it again with just more dirt.
Okay.
Do you remember
They're
what the
willing
price
to.
was? What the fee was that he paid?
$550.
$550.
For now, is there anything you'd like to add or comments?
No, sir.
Council? No. Thank you, ma'am. Do I hear a motion for approval for item 7.5?
I'll make a motion, we approve, renew the softball complex with Roland Pena, the same as it was before, and city provide the field dirt.
A second?
All fair say aye.
Aye.
7.6.
Right, the next item on the agenda is utility billing errors and allowing the city to go out and investigate on 6 accounts. Keep in mind that if the city does go into investigation on these accounts, the records of the individuals will become public.
Is there anybody here want to address this or not? All right.
Well, I authorize the city to go out and, what is a resolution for it? What do I need to say on this? Just
To allow us to go out and investigate further
Okay.
and come
Okay.
with
Go
up
out
with a
and
resolution.
investigate. Go out and investigate the accounts that are listed on here.
Second.
All fair say aye.
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 The next item, we have 10 resale properties that have come to, 9 have been to the council before, and they've already been approved through the county and through the school district, and they just need approval from the city. And the last one, this is the first time appearing, and we'll be the first to approve them. They do meet the 30% rule that the council has set forth previously, yes.
Were you able, just have a question, able to get a hold as far as the cost of the sale?
Yes, we did. The cost of are the court fees, and they will be paid first, and this includes all the fees for publication and filing.
Okay, so, for example, on the first one, we have the amount of bid of $3,700, correct?
Correct.
And so from that $3,700, the cost of sale, which is $1,275.50, would be subtracted, and then it would be divided.
Correct.
What's left over? What about the ones that the bid is less than what the fee is that's owed? The city's gonna have to pay for those?
That is correct. That's.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
Yeah.
Vicki, we'll let Mr. McGibbon open it up first.
Oh, I just have a question, because I did have him
Yeah, I
research
agree.
that for me, so that was my question. Sorry about that, I
I
didn't mean
agree
to
with you.
overstep your.
No, these are not a public hearing.
It's not public
No, it
hearing?
doesn't have a public hearing because
Okay, I
it's
apologize for
been
that.
brought before to the
Like,
council.
I'm okay
So
over
you
here.
stay out.
That's just my question. I have an issue, like I think on one of them, that the bid is 400, and it's gonna cost us more, so we're gonna give him the property at really no cost.
Yeah. You want to table those, whichever ones they are, 3 or 4 of them, Vicki?
I guess,
Or just, you
how
can
do
vote
we
against
handle
it?
this, or how?
We can table if you wish, so we can do more research on it and get better numbers. But from right now, from what we just learned is that those are fees that are taken out prior, This is the first thing that get paid before the rest gets split up. So on some of these, yes, we don't receive enough to pay for the portion that's
So we're
owed.
paying them to take it. So I know that we set the 30%, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we might have to refigure that because of the, what it costs us to, you know, for the
Paperwork.
transaction, all the paperwork. So I don't know how you want to.
So you said each one of those meets the 30%?
It means the 30%. The issue is that on some of these, we just saw that the cost of sale is more than what is being paid for the property.
The one that I pointed out to you, that the bid is 400, and it's gonna cost us about $1,200.
I can't agree with that either.
I can't agree with that.
I guess what we can do is just vote against it.
I think we
Somebody
can-
make a motion for it.
Well,
Just
I
vote
think-
against it and then go back, it goes back to bid?
I think some of them, you know, there's money left for them to pay, like on the first one.
Right.
The bid is 3,700 and the cost is 1,275, so they are kind
Right.
of meeting their cost.
Right. So that one's good, so to speak.
But I don't know how is it broken down on our list?
I guess we can go through each one and then
Yes.
look at it and decide whether somebody wants to approve or not approve or table it.
As long as we're not in the negative for any of these.
We're not paying them to take the property.
Right.
I guess we'll start with 7.7. Consider an act on offer to purchase tax resale property suit A-01-0358, which we're looking at lots tract 10, 11, block 408, which the price of that one is $3,700. The state, as Mr. Bragle said, and the cost of sale is $1,275. Is there a motion for approval for this one?
I make a motion, we approve this one,
Which would be 7.7.
7, trying to see the.
Second.
Okay.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Seven eight, you're looking at amount bid of $4,509. The cost of the sale will be $1,364. Is there a motion for approval? On 7.8, do you have your back to it?
Okay.
Sure. Billy, you got to that one?
Yeah, I got it.
I'm missing that.
Yeah, that's 7.8. There's a track number, which is A-02-3071.
This one, okay. Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion that we approve, is it, 3070, A-02-3071? Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm trying to, all right, I make a motion that we approve that one.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like this one on 7.9, you're looking at a bid of $400, and the cost of the wholesale is $1,640.
Right, that's, I make a motion we reject that one.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This one's amount bid of $369, and the cost of the sale is $359.83.
10 bucks off of this one.
You got a chance, the city will receive $2.69.
I guess not spend it all in one place, right?
I don't think we get a gallon of gas with that.
Jeez.
So what's the favor of the council on this one, 710?
I say decline it. I make a motion that we decline it.
Yeah. Second.
All first say aye.
Aye.
Aye. brings us to item 711, and the bid amount is $183, and the cost of the sale is $534.83.
Make a motion, we reject it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 712 will be the next one. On 712, we're looking at the amount of the bid is $2,100. The cost of the sale is $500. Sounds like a good one there.
Money in the kitty.
Is there a motion for approval on item 712?
I'll make a motion, we approve item 712.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 713, we're looking at I believe, amount bid of 1,104. Track 2, is that correct, Fernando, or am I looking at the wrong one? No, that's correct.
That's correct.
Okay, and the cost of the sale is $300, $335.83. Is there a motion for approval on that one?
Make a motion, we approve item 713.
Yes, sir. Is there a second, or what's the favor of the council?
I second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's see. $714, we're looking at, the amount of the bid is $5,394.60. And the cost of the sale is $620.63.
May I make a motion that we approve that bid?
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Hold on. Come on. Go ahead.
I was just curious on like one of the ones that you just did on, there's like 6 lots. Do you guys take into account what the lots are potentially worth when you guys approve a $200 bid?
So this has also gone through the school board already and gone through
The county.
and we're like the last one.
I would look at that, but they, I would look at that and they would say, well, we just need to get it back on the tax roll, is what the response
Which I
had
understand
been.
your question.
Which,
Yes.
Completely.
and I agree with you, yeah, let's get it back on, and you know what?
No.
This person's gonna sit on it for the next 10 years.
No, I would make that comment. It's, look how much, look at the corner, look at what it's worth, and they would say, well,
Okay,
we just need to get it back, and I'm like, ugh. So,
That's a good question, Roy.
Good question.
I have brought that up.
714. Yes, you have. 714.
Sure, where was it?
Where were we? Did you make a motion on that one?
I did. That's the one that had the 5,000, right?
Yes, the amount of bid, $5,394.
Second.
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're looking at amount bid $147. The cost of the sale is $108.52. For
I make a motion, we decline it.
Second.
second. All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This will bring us to item 16, 716. And I believe we're looking at amount of the bid on this one is $18,300, and the cost of the sale is $1,397. And you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 lots in that one.
Make a motion, we accept the bid.
Second?
All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right.
Okay, I think we're finished, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's gonna bring us to item 12.1.
Mayor and council, thank you. This item is to request permission to go out for RFPs for phone service for actually the whole city. My finance clerk was looking at our phone bill. She hated the exorbitant price. Who pays for long distance these days? We do. And she found that just by merely upgrading our service for the PD alone, there would be 50 to 60% savings.
Wow.
I think we're paying like 8 cents a minute or 40 cents a minute. I can't remember. It's unreal. So we would like to consider going out for bids to see if we can find better, cheaper phone service for the entire city to save more money.
Make a motion, we go out for RFPs for new phone service.
Second.
On first, say aye.
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 Thank you. Next one's fire chief.
Mayor and Council, before you have January's stats for the fire department. January turned out to be quite a hectic month. You might have seen on all of our Facebook. Before we even start, we typically last year, looking off last year's numbers, knowing that we had a 60% increase, averaged about 48 runs. In January alone, I made 65, and of those, it was more major incidents in January than we did in any given month, or any given 3 months last year. So total responses, year to date, when I actually did this report, was 87. Total responses for January was 65. Again, you kind of see the numbers there. We made 582 last year, so we're up 31.49%. Still moving forward with our inspections and capturing business information. Businesses and occupancies added to ERS totals 305. That's an additional 39 added to the database. And the annual fire inspections completed was 13. That number is a little bit lower than I'd like it to be, and a lot of that was because it was an all hands on deck for these emergencies, including the chief and assistant chief doing inspections. He had to pull off to go oversee some of these emergencies. Again, that reflected our training hours. These are not as many training hours I'd like to see, but we still had a healthy 40 hours for the date range and about plus or minus 20 for in-house training. Fire hydrant index are still 421 with 19 out of service. Again, we're still kind of, we got to get with Public Works, and they're progressive. They're really getting those back in service. And they're constantly calling us, hey, I got this one back in service. We're going to work together here real soon to get that collective number. Talked to Mickey, and it looks like the numbers, it's actually single digits at this point. They've done a great job. Injuries, we had none, but we did have one near miss. All those calls that we had, they were not only taxing on the men, it was taxing on our equipment. We were having a lot of trouble keeping a 32-year-old brush truck in service. We were running it so much that as soon as it would come back from a call, it'd go for mechanical report, repair. Our neighbors to Ingleside, Rockport, Fulton, and even as far as Portland were gracious enough to help us quite a bit, but we had multiple problems, and then we had a limb strike the cab and actually crush. You'll see the picture there and there. So with the mechanical and the inability to get, so it's a 30-plus-year-old truck that I can't get parts for, and with the critical damage like that and had engine issues, it's actually been out of service. One of the reasons you saw Captain Cruz and Captain Deal up here, they have been up here just about every single day working on that truck, along with other guys. With that being said, I scheduled a meeting and with the Texas Forestry Service, and we've applied for a DoD firefighter property program. While it is another deuce and a half, it is actually looks like that maybe within 2 months, not only are we building this truck, I want to back up so that when we do, have to go down from mechanical to regular maintenance, that I have something to service and not just relying on our neighbors to help us out. With that, there's a $20,000 skid unit that comes in that. Very small stipulation to it is just that we have to have it in service in 1 year, we have to paint it, and we have to put a cage on it, stuff that we do in our sleep. If you follow through some of these pages, you're going to see the stats, what we did. You'll see, look at the first sheet there.
Mr. Cox, I got a question.
Yes,
on
sir.
The fire at the harbor.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if it involves Chuck, and I don't know if it's Eric and you, but when Chuck damaged his vehicle, hitting a citizen's vehicle, back up into it, what does that fall under? His tail light when he hit the reporters.
That's going to probably fall under city responsibility for backing without safety or something to that effect.
Okay, just curious because I hadn't heard anything about it. All right, sorry about that.
No problem. But if you do kind of look at this chart here, you can see that the majority, since we've taken over first responding, that's been the predominant what we do. We're seeing about anywhere from 40 to 60%, looking at last year's numbers. That dropped down and was kind of grateful that it did, that it was only 29% was EMS and rescue, but you see that fire is 35%. That's actually a really big number. And it was just the conditions were perfect for it. Most of those are going to be grass fires. We had the harbor incident. I had upwards of, in the area of about 85 to 100 firefighters out there with greater than 25 pieces of apparatus. This was a big incident. And then we've had 3 other incidents in that same month that took more than double-digit apparatus from around the county. Just some more information following this on exactly what the calls were. You see my typical heat map that I like to throw in there. So you can see what the saturation of these calls are coming in for January. A list of the occupancies that have been inspected. There was those 13 I mentioned. There's a little list of the training as well. Any questions for the fire department stats?
I'd like to thank Portland too for when y'all were using that ladder truck for when you were looking at applicants, correct?
Absolutely, they came over and helped us out. We're mirroring that. We really want to take the 2 departments and we're learning. We're trying to learn from each other so that we don't have road rash of our own. Why not? We don't want to reinvent the wheel. They're doing something that we can learn from, and it's going both ways. It's a great relationship that Chief Lombard and I have. Not only do they bring the ladder truck, but the neighbors around here, the agencies, the MOUs we have set up are great because we did a practice day for our testing the day before, and Ingleside came out and did that one. And when Portland brought out, they brought out their ladder truck. The chief brought it, and he sat out here on his day off for the majority of the day, and that speaks volumes for their department and what it means to me to know that I have those kind of relationships, that they'll come over and commit their personal time for us.
That's one thing I want to applaud on all of y'all because it's a lot of teamwork within the cities that y'all work together. It's maybe not publicized, but it is seen.
Right, and I meant to put a flow chart in there, showing the incident command structure, because when we talk about the harbor incident, there was a Texas General, anywhere from the Coast Guard. I had Public Works was out there with dozers. PD had, Chief Perkins said there was 9-piece apparatus and 11 personnel. I mean, that's huge in itself. We had Portland, we had people from as far as Woodsboro and Refugio. Yeah. So again, this was all hands on deck, and it could have been a lot worse, and I'm proud of the job they did.
And also for Mr. Palmetto helping us with this boat.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely. Everybody comes out, and that's what I like about Aransas Pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that would close that up. We're going to come up to our citizen comments. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try to be quick. I actually have 2 reports for you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. You just knew I was going to take a little bit longer than normal. As far as the stats, it was a stats update for January 2017. The numbers are pretty well the same. I'm not going to dwell on that. This should already be online as well. It should have auto-published. Some of the highlights for that month is I have Jack McCarty here. He's our newest addition to the police department. Jack McCarty is a resident, I believe, here. A familiar face. Like Alan Mize, Jack McCarty's been involved in the community for some time. He's also, if you've ever had a medical call, you might have seen him on that box coming to your aid because he is EMT certified as well. So we're very blessed and we're happy to have him aboard and hope that he can take off. Yeah. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. To the highlights that stand out for the month of January, because I want to really get onto the annual ones, is, of course, Jack. We had an officer recognized, few recognitions. Patrol was pretty busy with filing patrol cases. Let me see anything else standing out there. Of course, CID is working on the child that was found buried. We're having some conflicts, but I wanted to talk about that briefly. We got a call or a report of a baby's remains that were found in the backyard or buried in the backyard. Detectives went out there, found the site, dug it up, and sure enough, there were baby remains in the ground. Initial reports showing that child, and I find it real hard to believe, was 10 weeks of gestation. But that just doesn't jive. We sent the remains off for a second opinion from another forensic source. So we're still waiting in the queue for them to review that. And we're being told that hopefully we can get a good age back. Right now, we don't have anything that's criminal to where the prosecutor is willing to accept any charges, but all parties involved, we're very familiar with who they are, so it's not a whodunit. It's a we know whodunit type situation. Training stays steady. For the month of January, we're kind of a training leader, and I'll allude to that in the next report. Of course, you have the Harbor Fire. Emergency management was involved on that. I will tell you that the fire chief, an excellent job commanding that fire and all the fires. He brings some experience that is very important and kind of helps us all understand how, when our emergency management's activated, how that command structure is supposed to work. So it was kind of a learning experience for several of us as well. We're very appreciative of his expertise in that realm. We had the lady that went missing in Pelican Cove. Sad situation. The CID is investigating that. I don't have an update on that situation. We don't have any indication that there's foul play, but anytime you have a death investigation, it's in depth. Animal control still trucking along with numbers. And then, like I said, all those details are online. I'll go ahead and move into the next one, Mayor, with your blessing. Continue on.
Continue to the annual.
To the annual, unless you have any questions about January.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so going into the annual report, which you'll have on there, it is also auto-published online, so people can really pick that apart. But let me go over some of the details. In 2016, our call volume did increase slightly. In 2015, we were up 3,200 calls over the previous year. In 16, we're up 1,600 calls over the previous 2015. A couple things to point out, and as you know, we did go out for RFPs for a new software vendor. Here's another reason why. There's reporting errors in the software we're using. I ran 2015's report, and my numbers didn't come back the same, and that's unacceptable. The numbers should not change. What's the problem is the reporting system that's been integrated with our system. If that gentleman, there's one guy with Sam Houston State University that works on those reports, if he changes something for one agency, it could also affect reporting for our agency. So every year I'm having to go back to him, tell him these numbers don't match, I need them to match. He finds the error, but then next year we got a new error. So this is another thing we're going to try to correct. For the most part, these numbers are the most accurate reflection that I'm able to give you. On average, an officer in 2016 was required 82 times a day. Now that includes initial call if a backup officer was needed on the scene or showed up. That includes all officers and that need. Our average response time in 2016 is 3 minutes and 45 seconds to an emergency call, which is very good. We want to be under the 5-minute mark. Traffic tickets, you'll see in 2016, those are up substantially. We're up to 2,800 citations that were issued, over 1,900 the year prior. Our top violations that are most cited: speeding, number 1. Expired motor vehicle registration moved in for number 2. And failing to maintain insurance, number 3. If you go online, you can see all the top 10 that fit into that category. Arrests are up slightly, not remarkably, to 694 total arrests for the year. Our UCR findings, these aren't really necessarily good numbers, but I don't equate too much to these numbers, and I've said that consistently. But most of those UCR numbers are up slightly, nothing significant, except for burglaries. Burglaries seems to have taken a little step down, so about a 10% decline, which is, I like it, but again, I don't put too much into the UCR numbers. I'm hoping that with the new reporting system, we'll get a more accurate reflection. They use NIBRS, which is a more in-depth way of analyzing data. For example, rape. If you look at rape, it said we had no rapes. Well, rape has to happen a certain way for UCR to count it as a rape, whereas in the NIBRS system, it's not that eliminating. Rape means what we know rape to mean. When I get down to narcotics seized, if you look, our top drugs in this city, number 1, marijuana, and there's a lot of contention over marijuana. We get beat up when we when we share arrests related to marijuana because people think it needs to be decriminalized. It's against the law. We enforce it equally. Opiates and prescription pills. Now, I will tell you that opiates, sometimes prescription pills are being categorized as opiates because they contain an opiate base in it. So I will tell you prescription pills are probably our number one problem as far as problem drug right now in the community. And one of the reasons we have the prescription drug drop box is to try to help curtail some of that or cut down on it. But we do have thefts, burglaries that are reported and taken because people are having medications stolen from them. Asset forfeiture, there's nothing significant on this year, but next year you will see the reflection of the $1.9 million that was deposited. State forfeiture, nothing too significant. Our web report for last year, we had 121,000 unique visitors to our website. Our top referring sites, as always, Facebook #1, search engines were #2, and the city website actually is a top referrer. They came in #4, so a lot of people bounce off the city website and come to see us. Top attractions on the police department, there's one that it stands out that I'll talk about, and that's recent arrest postings. Those can be contentious as well. Some people don't like them, but a lot of people love them. So I've been kind of conflicted on that. I don't like stigmatizing people. I think people deserve another chance in life. But I will tell you the community also deserves to be informed, so they like those, and we keep them coming. Facebook stats, Facebook, we're up to 10,000 now followers. We ended the year at 9,600. Our best single-day post took on 100,000 people that were reached through that one-day post. I will tell you, as the years previous, Facebook is the best way for us to communicate and get immediate information from our community or to our community. Training report, which is training stands out. And I'm going to move on from that, but real quick, we trained about 651 law enforcement professionals last year. That's Aransas Pass PD training those individuals. And I will tell you, as far as that training, we trained agencies from all over South Texas, DPS, TABC, the cattle rangers, school resource officers, national parks, DEA, Attorney General's office, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, FBI, and I'm sure several others. Our training reaches a lot of folks, and I think that I'm pretty sure that we've reached one of the South Texas leaders as far as law enforcement training in the area. I believe we put out more training probably than Del Mar College does for law enforcement directed training.
Eric, was there a shooting this weekend at the Dollar General?
No.
It wasn't?
No, nothing that I've been informed of.
Okay. I'm just
No.
curious. 'Cause
You've received a report on that?
Yeah.
I'll double check, but no, nothing. I get alerts pretty
some
regularly.
windows and stuff.
Oh, yes.
The BB guns.
Yeah, BB guns.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, we actually did release information on that too, Mayor. It's a good question. We got another BB gun bandit going around. He made a fatal error, though. They got really close to a business that had very beautiful video. So we've released that video, and we're seeking tips on that. Hopefully we'll get something on that.
Okay, good deal.
Closing up real quick, IT department, we excel in IT. Just some highlights I want to go over. We had another CGIS audit. We did exceptionally well on that. Some dispatcher highlights. Carrie's Law, if you remember, we recognize staff. That's so you can go into any business with a multi-line phone, dial 911 direct. You'd see that Corpus Christi released last week or the week before about text to 911 being available. We've had text to 911 for the last several months. We did not broadcast that because it would be bad for us to broadcast it and then somebody in Corpus try to use it and it not work. But we are up and running with text to 911 as well as Corpus Christi area. We have a very good and aggressive animal control department that's really living out the new vision of holding faulty animal owners accountable for violations. And we're preparing to hire another employee to fill that second vacancy. I'll bring that person to you soon. Patrol, we started a new program this last year in Patrol for the Housing Authority where we had a new aggressive approach at directed patrol, mingling with the residents and getting into people's business, but in a soft and delicate fashion. That was a very successful program that really helped their housing authority in the complex, and we've since moved on now to the Sandy Oaks, and we're willing to work with any housing developments with this directed patrol measure. Community outreach programs still are pretty heavy, and CID is trucking along, doing well. We had revamped our investigative division so that they could focus on more serious crimes and not on the less serious. For example, a minor theft or a minor traffic violation that would be a fine only. When I started here, they were just CID would have to take statements and investigate those cases. That's a waste of resource. We've changed that procedure to where patrol does a little bit more of that. Those are the highlights. I tried to speed through it. If you have any questions, available to answer, or you can go online and you can always engage us in one of the various means.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Council.
All right, this is going to bring us to item 13, our citizen comments. Let's see.
Mayor, I got a citizen comment. I don't want to cut nobody out, but somebody, female Gloria Blackford, that was watching us on live stream, she did comment when Diane was up speaking about the Safe Schools route grant to the deal, so I'll share her comment. She says, I'm concerned about the gas tank accidents that may occur with pedestrians and vehicles trying to navigate through it, as well as hazards of children not being seen by motorists, and that's specifically related to her commentary when she was up on the podium.
Okay. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carol Salinas. I live on South 11th Street in Aransas Pass. Couple comments. I'm having a hard time hearing everybody, and when it comes to live stream, I think it's going to be very difficult. I wish there was some way. You guys have been really good for the last few months, but tonight I have to say I'm having a hard time. I don't know who made the motions, who did the seconds, and I try to keep up. Another thing, I wonder if you could introduce the gentleman sitting on the end in Mr. Lawrence's place.
Okay. This is Mr. McGibbon. He's for our local attorney from TML, because Mr. Lawrence is not here present at the moment, so he's stepping in for him tonight.
Okay, thank you. And then
sorry about that, Mr. McGibbon.
Ms. Flores's comments, I kind of tend to agree. I don't think this is actually a city program. I think it's state. I'm not sure, TxDOT. But we don't have that many very few kids that are going to utilize this sidewalk from the schools to the library. I'm sorry, but our kids just don't walk to and from school anymore nowadays. And these people who are going to have their driveways have to be so careful watching for the kids. And I don't know that we have any choice in the matter, but, and then again, Mr. Quintanilla, thank you. And I understood and heard everything you said. You did a good job tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else?
Mayor, Council. Howard Gillespie, San Patricio County Commissioner, Precinct 4, 801 North Sandpiper, Island Bay, Texas. I gave you a little folder here about state Senate bill issues and unfunded, underfunded state mandates. I didn't ask to be on the agenda. You can read over this stuff. It's important. I've spent, over the last couple weeks, I've been in Austin several days. The first thing I gave you in that package was a letter to the Lieutenant Governor and the members of the State Senate about committee substitute bill for Senate Bill 4, adding punitive measures to the sanctuary counties to the point of where we can be liable up to 10 years if somebody's accidentally released and they commit a crime, and there's no limit on the amount of damages they can claim. The next section I gave you was on County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas, early session issues, and there's discussion there about Senate Bill 4, sanctuary counties, and Senate Bill 2, you're familiar with the 8% reduction to 4% from 8% on the caps, and also some very strict deadlines for being able to go out to the voters if you need more than 4%. And then Senate Bill 2, ignoring the cause of underfunded public schools. Now, and unfunded and underfunded state mandates. Some of that is, you know, we're required to have a county jail, but we're not required to have sheriff's deputies. But we have things like indigent health care. And in 3 weeks that I tracked it, over the last month or so. There was 1 week we paid $5,000 some dollars for indigent health care. 1 week we paid over $6,000, that's the county. And then that following week after that, it was a $30,000 bill to the county to pay for indigent health care. Now, we were up on the Hill speaking to the Speaker of the House, the Lieutenant Governor's people, and the Governor's people about some of this stuff. We're tasked with a lot of mandates. And the last thing, well, let me see here. And then they're going to try to balance the budget. On the second page of the second group of papers I gave you, the state budget, they're going to further cut funded and unfunded mandates, or unfunded mandates. They provide some, not all. One of the things they wanted to cut was the money that goes to Del Mar for dual credit classes. You ever had anybody in high school, 16, 18 years old?
Yes.
My daughter was one, benefited greatly from that. They want to cut that altogether and do away with it. Now, in the Quad County area for Del Mar, of which we're one of the counties, there's 3,000 dual credit students. 1,000 of those come from San Patricio County. So, but read through that. And then the last thing I gave you was a results of a 2016 unfunded mandates survey put together by the Texas Association of Counties, County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas, Texas Conference of Urban Counties, and Texas Association of County Auditors. They did not cover everything. They hit some of the more important ones, and I'll just let you look at that. And I'll be glad to come back another time to go on the agenda to talk about it, or you can contact me. My card's there in the folder also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Liz Brawley, 902 South Lamont. And I just wanted to say, in response to the Neptune presentation, I wish they were still here, but they basically said that their meters are infallible. And I find that hard to believe. I mean, nothing is perfect. Neither are their meters. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Manager Quintanilla, congratulations. Bill Killian again from Killian Calderon Disposal. We were one of the RFP respondents last Thursday night. Y'all voted to postpone the contract award. I certainly respect that decision and understand the reason that you did it. It made sense. But while it's all fresh in our collective minds, I thought I would say just a few words about what I would have said on Thursday night. Old school guy named Ken Venturi was an old golfer. If you've ever listened to any sporting event, you probably heard of Ken Venturi. When he was a kid, he was telling his dad how good a golfer he was, and he won all these golf tournaments, and he was going on. And his dad said, you know, son, you'll know you're really good when someone tells you how good you are, as opposed to you telling everyone else. So in our RFP packet, there's 3 very nice referral letters from city managers here local and also in Liberty County, and also Goodwill's Dennis Terry. If you do get a chance to look at the proposals next time it goes out, our proposal had a really strong community involvement section, especially in regards to how it participated in the cleanup of the transfer station that has some TCEQ violations because of the brush and the accumulation of waste there. We really stepped forward with our pocketbook to help with that. We also talked about different community events we participate in, even offered a scholarship for a Aransas Pass student. And then also in there, I put in there that I'd be willing to be like a solid waste supervisor, if you will, at no charge for 60 days. So I've got 23 years in this business, and I've gone through this type of changeover with many municipalities, so my professional experience and that of my staff, we could help folks get through. It's certainly a hard thing to do. It's not easy, but it's doable. So from 250 homes to 100,000 homes are the type of contracts that I've managed. But our company's small enough, we'd be like your own private solid waste company. I mean, you'd be 100% of our attention, and it would be the crown jewel of our operation. And I think that talking about stewarding someone through that, I think especially the city of Liberty, which I mentioned the night that I introduced myself to y'all, city of Liberty, we walked them through that same size city. It's weird how close it is, the same number of homes. But then, the last I'll finish on is that, remember in 2013, this went out to bid. I was one of the respondents with a different firm. Absolute Waste was a respondent, and Republic was a respondent. And the night that Mr. Reeves mentioned that they've been the provider for 31 years, they were the provider of the last 3, because at the last RFP, they responded, went through the process with us and Absolute, and then at the 11th hour said, oh, your contract renewed. You have a renewal, an automatic renewal of 3 years. And city staff said, well, why didn't you tell us? Why did you participate in the bid? Well, we didn't know. So for the last 36 months, they've paid more, the city's paid more money because of that strong arm tactic. And I guess I understand they're going to roll the dice 3 years later, see what happens. Then to get it postponed 4 months, now it's 40 months. 40 months of paying a higher rate because of that. We can help you get through it. 40% savings to the city on the commercial side. I do respect the council's vote on Thursday, and I understand the face value reasoning behind it. I get it. I do respectfully request if you would potentially consider changing the 4-month postponement to a 1-month postponement, maybe with potential start date of June 1. I'm available to meet with Mr. Quintanilla, Mayor Chapa, staff, or any council members to discuss the issue if so desired. I can reach out via email to each of you and say, hey, if you want 15 minutes to talk garbage, I'm always up to talking trash. So I'll do that if you like, and that'd be my speech for the night, and I'll let you get to executive session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Killian. Is there anybody else?
Roy Vasquez, 1003 West Roseanne Avenue. With what he just said, if it doesn't get changed to a month, will that contract renew for another 3 years if we don't do something before the cutoff date?
It increases.
Cynthia Vasquez, 1003 West Rhodes Avenue. I just want to make sure that you understand that some of your residents would rather not continue this relationship with Republic. Being, having some legal background, working in the legal field for several years, I don't think any company should have to be reminded about their contractual agreements. When we moved here in the summer of 2014, my husband and I were really surprised at, all the garbage on the side of the roads and the brush and stuff like that. I found out going through Citizens Academy that part of the issue was Republic was picking and choosing when they wanted to comply with brush pickup. They had to be contacted several times, and part of that, my understanding, and the city manager can correct me if I'm wrong, part of them getting to bring out those big dumpsters for the cleanups, the city cleanups these past couple of years, was them trying to make up for, not following their own contractual agreements. So once again, I don't think we should have to make a business honorable. I think they should just be honorable to begin with. So just wanted to give you my feedback on that.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else?
I want to add one more thing. Sorry. As far as this sidewalk, I think it's a great idea. All right. Someone said one time, you build it, they will come. So I know if I was a child and we had sidewalks, I would be walking on the sidewalks and not on the road. If I had a bike when I was younger, I'd be riding on that 10-foot sidewalk. So, give the city a chance. Give the project a chance. So.
Okay. Is there anybody else?
Thomas Dutton, P170, Texas 35.
Mr. Dutton has asked me to come up and advocate for him on an issue that happened last week at the city council meeting that he wanted me to bring to light to the council for him. So if you don't mind, I'll be advocating for him tonight. Mayor Council, last Thursday, we had a special meeting in which an executive session item specifically for personnel city attorney was brought up. I don't want to be too blunt. It was very disappointing what happened at that meeting. All it stated in the executive session item was that it was going to be for personnel city attorney, and a lot of people had a lot of questions. Why is he on an executive session item for personnel? Upon talking to people when they left here, they had way more questions than what they came in here with. And I think that for the sake of transparency for the public, I think that they deserve to know where their money's going, why it's going there, who it's going to, and how much of it is going. But those questions, they all walked out with those questions last week. Nobody had answers. I heard lots of people talking about, oh, why does a contract laborer get those type of benefits, lifetime health benefits? Why isn't he an employee? Doesn't his wife get these things? How long are we going to pay this? Basically what happened last week was Mr. Lawrence, and I will say this, I do feel sorry for him and his circumstance. I do hear that he's, I believe, on the road to recovery, possibly, and I do apologize for that. I have said a prayer for him. However, for the sake of the people, for the public, what happened last week was that Mr. Lawrence was written a blank check. We have no idea how long he's going to get this health coverage. The people have no idea how much money is going to be paid out for that. They have no idea if his wife is covered on those benefits. Nothing. Mayor, you did try to get some answers for the people, but it was like pulling teeth. You literally had to go through and give timelines. How long are we doing this? 2 years? What? Until you finally said one that somebody said yes on, until he expired. No other details other than that. I'm confused myself. I thought he was contract labor. I go and do an open records request for an employment for all the employees for the city of Aransas Pass, and Mr. Lawrence is listed on here as of 3/31/2014 as an employee. I'm confused at $8.65 an hour, $8.65 an hour. I'm not for sure with the response that we got out of council last week, the lack of explanation, the lack of transparency, that y'all really even for sure what y'all voted on. I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind the closed doors. I just know that we couldn't get answers last week. We now have a city attorney who's going to get health insurance for whatever amount of money for however long he needs it. I don't know of any other city employee that gets allotted those type of benefits here. One thing I will say is that, and I guess the main issue that needed to be addressed here was the sufficiency notice on the city's agenda. Executive session, personnel, city attorney. That answers nothing, other than the city attorney is going to go in there, or somebody's going to deliberate on the city attorney. No explanation of action. I understand that you don't have to give us a reason what you think is the end result's going to be, but it would have been nice to see something a little bit more specific on there. Possibly deliberations on possible lifetime health insurance, deliberations on health insurance for Mr. Lawrence, something specific that would have given the public a little bit of an idea on what y'all were going to be talking about. And then when you come out to vote, you could have went ahead and exposed some details so that the people was not confused on what happened. Now, I did go ahead and pull up some documents for y'all, and I'm going to share this with y'all. I'll give it to Mary, I guess. Mayor, is that correct when I'm done? Okay. Ken Paxton, our Attorney General. They have a open government handbook online. It's really great. It's about 150 pages. It goes through all the sections of the open government laws. It breaks it down into layman's terms so we can understand it, because we're allowed to understand the laws that govern our municipality, okay? In his opening statement, he says the Texas Open Meeting Act sets requirements for state and local government entities to conduct open meetings and make information relating to government conduct and actions accessible to the public. This transparency provides Texans with a more complete understanding of how their government works, and when necessary, provide them with the opportunity to hold their public officials accountable. Providing public access to the government decision-making process creates necessary trust and understanding in officials and in the system. Public accountability is imperative in a free society. That's what your Attorney General thinks. So they go on, you can pull up sufficiency notices in there. And one of the things they say is that the court examines a fact to determine whether a particular subject or personal matter is sufficiently described or requires more specific treatment because it is of special interest to the community. Your money is of special interest. Consequently, counsel for the governing body should be consulted if any doubt exists concerning the specifics of notice required for a particular matter. So you can actually seek legal counsel to make sure that it's written up correctly. So that was from Ken Paxton. Like I said, you can go online. It's the Open Government Handbook. It's kind of a made easy type of thing. I also have something else here. I might have misplaced where the cover page is at. But this is from an attorney that also discusses open government. Agenda item drafting. Each agenda item must be adequately informed the public of the matter of the governing body. It's going to discuss failure to adequately describe a matter could lead to the action taken by the governing body being declared void and subsequent successful challenge. So it could actually be challenged. If you don't write this up in a manner that is according to law and shows the public what you're talking about, these things can actually be challenged in court. Those actions can actually be voided out if somebody wanted to do that. Now, we don't want to tie the city up in court. It's a waste of money. All it takes is a few more words on that agenda to give some transparency to what's going on. It's that simple. If you don't know how to do it, or whoever's setting the agenda is not very well versed in it, that's why we have legal counsel here with the city. You go to them and you let them look at it. But in regards to the sufficient notice, there's a case, Cox Enterprise versus Board of Trustees of Austin ISD, and they had a similar situation where it was kind of a vague agenda item. And so they wrote in there, as long as a reader is alerted to the topic for consideration, it is not necessary to state all of the consequences which may flow from consideration. You don't have to outline every possibility of the end result. But it says, general opinion addressing the adequacy of notice for an executive session item discussed, the balance of interest served by the Open Meetings Act. The primary interest protected, permitting personnel matters to be discussed privately, is that in avoiding possible unjustified harm to the reputation of the individual officer or employee under consideration. So you can go into executive session for personnel so you don't embarrass them or disclose anything that's confidential. While this is an important interest, it cannot be permitted to completely eliminate the public's right to be notified with reasonably specifics of the subject matter to be considered at a meeting of a government body, particularly when the subject is one which the public can reasonably be expected to have a special interest. Writing a blank check for taxpayers' funds is special interest. The people have a right to know. Now, what I'm going to recommend, what I would like to recommend, and I'm not an attorney, I'm not anybody important, but I think we need to work on this agenda a little bit. I don't know how many times I see items on executive session that nobody has a clue what they're for. Personnel, city manager, personnel. I even seen one not too long ago that said city staff. City staff. Who is that? Did you know that whoever you're deliberating on in there, if they're an employee, they have a right to request that to be brought out in open session? It doesn't have to be deliberated back there. But you know what? They don't know if they're being deliberated on when you put those type of notices on there. When you put that kind of description. Those are violations. You have to specify what is going on back there. You don't have to give us full detail. But if you're talking about an employee, they have to know that you're talking about them. You need to have somebody well-versed. Because what happened last week, I understand that there's big conflict in this city right now. There are people after the city's government, they're ticked off, they're saying there's no transparency in this place. That antagonizes it. What happened last week antagonizes it. Everybody can yell at us and say, y'all need to quit being negative. You need to quit doing, but you know what? When you do situations like that, you create those circumstances. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? Please get somebody that can look at that agenda and tell you that it's correct. Mayor, if an agenda item comes up and you look at it and go, I don't know what this is about, guess what? We don't know what it's about. We don't either. You have a right to go to your council and say, can you please write me a statement clarifying that this executive session item is permissible by law. We can actually engage in this. Is this agenda item cited correctly per the law? And I would recommend that y'all do that. Not just for yourselves, for protection of yourself, for these people. They deserve it. It's their money. You're voting on it, you're spending it. They deserve to know where it's going, why it's going there, and who it's going to. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn in this paperwork, but I do have an action that I'm requesting of the council. And I'm a little bit mixed up right now, but I'll go ahead and paperclip it together for you. I'm going to read this. Did I say everything that you needed? You sure? Okay. I, Thomas Dutton, request the following matter to be placed on the city's agenda for further deliberation and voting by the council of Aransas Pass. One, he's requesting that you put on the agenda to rescind the vote made on Thursday, February 16th, regarding executive session item personnel city attorney, which resulted in a 4-to-1 vote to provide health insurance to the city attorney until he expires. Request to rescind is for the following reasons. No legal counsel was present to confirm the legality of such action. Y'all had no counsel last week to tell you if that was correct or not. Okay? Executive session agenda item pertained to the city attorney gave insufficient notice regarding a matter of special interest to the public. The second thing he's requesting is that you seek outside legal counsel regarding the legality of granting such benefits to the city attorney and advice regarding sufficient notice requirements for city agenda. And then I applied the documentation with this, and then he's got it signed. This goes to Mary?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? Okay. I think that's it. Yep. All right. Mayor, council, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who will make a citizen comment? You're good? Everybody's good? Okay, I got 9:02. We're gonna break to executive session in pursuant of section 551 or .071, consultation with the city attorney, which today will be Mr. McGibbon, over Captain Bateshack. Item 2, 551.071, consultation with the city attorney, which is Harbor Lease, also of Aransas Pass Seafood Packers. And item 3 is section 551.074, personnel matters, city manager recruitment. It is 9:02. We're breaking off executive session. Y'all that stay, thank y'all for staying. Y'all that go home, have a safe trip home. So be careful, and we'll see y'all later.
See you tomorrow.
out of executive session at 9:55 PM. What's the finding of the council for item 8?
Okay, item A, be no action until further review by the city attorney.
Item B?
Item B, okay, for the harbor lease, make a motion that we add the sentence to the lease reading, however, since such increase shall not exceed the percentage increases charged to all other tenants in the general area.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you.
All first say aye.
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 Don't make me say it again.
And item C, no action, correct?
No action.
Okay, do I have a
Make a
motion for
motion,
adjournment of the
we
meeting?
adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All say aye.
Aye.
Aye.